If you work at a job, you will earn an income. But if you work on yourself, you will earn a fortune. And that rings true if you develop what you are capable of.
Hello and welcome to mcgrawesome, the podcast all about helping entrepreneurs level up so they can be awesome. My name is Nick McGraw. Thank you so much for joining me. My guest this week is Rex Witkamp, who is actually a ship captain in Florida. Before he was the captain of a ship, Rex worked many different types of jobs, from sales to marketing and everything in between, that helped him find his entrepreneurial path today. He tried a bunch of different things, tested what worked and what didn't, so that he could find his purpose in life. Now, Rex helps other people find their path in life, which is what makes him a great motivator and professional speaker. Rex, thank you so much for joining me today. I am super happy to talk to you. As you know, this is a show all about entrepreneurship and growth mindset, and you are the perfect person that I want to talk to you today because I love your story, man. We met last week, and from hearing your story from the very beginning, I loved hearing it, and I want to ask you about it today. So thank you for being here, Rex. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on, Nick.
So the first thing that I want to do is I kind of want to revisit your story because I loved it the moment I heard it from your mouth. And I would love for you to set the scene for me again, if you could, your kind of entry into entrepreneurship, because it's similar to mine. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs out there who are looking to build their name up, build their brand, build their empire. And I really love the path that you took. So maybe you could set the scene for me and tell me how you got into entrepreneurship and why you are the entrepreneur you are today.
So yeah, well, once again, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be on your show. And like we had talked last week, the journey really has involved many different twists and turns. And I'm midlife here, of 46 years old, but I guess the errands around the house and helping other people, but that kind of turned into being a paper boy, right? This is part of the story you've never heard. It's the younger years, riding my bike and delivering newspapers. Just the hustle and the grind, even selling candy at school. And I was the guy with the backpack at school selling, candies for 25 cents and 35 until the teachers and the administrators shut you down, I was always finding a way to make a little side money on the side, and just to be able to learn to grow in that capacity is something that I just taught myself. I don't know, I just had it. It was just something that was a part of me. But my later years taught me that, hard work is important, and you have to have you don't have to have a formal education, but I ended up getting a formal education. I had an interesting degree in biology, which really didn't serve me in my years after college, other than the fact that some of the courses that I took allowed me to study anatomy and physiology, which helped towards my emergency medical services and my paramedic degree, and then becoming a firefighter. And I had before I went into the fire service, I was diagnosed with cancer. And I had a 10-year business before that. I just built it out of the back of my car. It was a small niche, just cleaning service business that I grew into an absolute monster. I started from nothing and made, over $250,000 in sales within a few years. And it was really the hustle. It was crews in different areas, different cities, multiple vehicles, tons of assets that were just but I was turning over money. And, I was making a lot of revenues, but I was just throwing it away in expenses. And at the end of the day, I was just turning over money, and I was working like a dog, and I was it wasn't fulfilling. And so I knew there had to be a better purpose, a better, design for my life. I knew what I was capable of, but I wasn't really getting the satisfaction of trying to build what I knew I was capable of. After my diagnosis, I ended up joining the fire service and becoming a paramedic. And then after that, I got to a point in 10 years in a career that it wasn't serving me to build the time because I wasn't allowed the ability to promote and advance in my organization, and that discouraged me. I started to grow more in my reflection of and awareness of what I was capable of to determine my future, instead of agreeing with the societal norms of what people are telling me I'm capable of. I never liked that part of the real world job employment market, where the job is the journey of the broke, right? Or just over broke. You have a
Yeah.
limit. You're at a formal employer. You have a limit to how much money they're allowing you to make. I always wanted to determine how much worth I was able to come up with, and just by producing more and more value. So, that entrepreneurial spirit and that dream started from a long history of different career paths, but it allowed me to focus back more in my later years to be able to come back to building myself. Because, like they say, if you work at a job, you will earn an income. But if you
Yeah.
work on yourself, you will earn a fortune. And that rings true. If you develop what you are capable of and following your passions, you are able to set no limits of your capabilities in life. And so that's kind of the shorter history of some of the parts you didn't hear from last week.
Yeah, you've kind of unpacked a lot more that we didn't get to talk
Yeah.
about last week. What are you up to now, though? Like you're definitely an entrepreneur now. What are you working on right now? Like what is it about right now?
So I have several things that I work on. I'm an author and I'm a speaker, but I'm also a boat captain. I'm on the executive team to a billionaire in Miami, Florida, for as a private yacht captain. And so that's my main gig, and then what I do from that's my 9 to 5, but then my
Hmm.
5 to 9, right, is the hustle.
Yeah.
Is doing podcast. I have a podcast of my own. I'd love for you to be on it. Maybe we can trade some time. I think we talked about
Oh,
that.
I love that.
And I reach out and just try to support myself with people that are on the upswing in life. You have to you're the culmination of the 5 people that you surround yourself the most with, and that's a study done by MIT that and it's true. If you're the smartest one in your group, you need to get a new group. And so I
Oh,
try to
I
scratch and dig and get
totally
into the right
agree.
circles to be able to pursue my life, to have really a massive amount of value and purpose, right?
I love that, man. You touched on so many things that I think both young and middle-aged and older entrepreneurs wrestle with all the time. And I think the biggest thing that I took away from everything you just said and your life's journey up until this point is you tried a lot of things. You tried a lot of things because you were figuring it out, right? You didn't have it all figured out in your 20s. You didn't have it figured out going into university or coming out of university. You didn't have it all figured out in your first one or two or third job, right? You're still figuring out. It's a lot of trial and error. Yes, there is a vision. Yes, there is a path. There's as much of a plan as you can possibly make without having a crystal ball and seeing the future, right? But you never kind of pigeonhole yourself into, well, this is just my life and I have to deal with it.
Oh
we've
no.
we've we've talked about, you and I have talked about, in our private conversations about different entrepreneurs we love. So we both love Les Brown and Gary Vee and Evan Carmichael, who's up here in Toronto with me. He said people for 40 years get in their car and drive to a job they hate just to work that job and build someone else's dream, right? You are someone else's employee just to go to a job you hate and come home and just be miserable and do it all over again for the next 40 years.
Makes
And
no sense. Yeah.
no, it doesn't. It makes no sense to me. It obviously makes no sense to you. And I'm wondering if you believe what I believe, in that some of us just seem to have a switch that's flipped, where it's like, I can't do that anymore. Like, I got to be my own guy or my own girl. Like, I got to be my own boss. I got to work for myself. I'm going to build something onto myself, because I'm not going to let a boss or an employer determine what my worth is anymore and just tell me what a paycheck is. Yes, some people level up. That is true. But a lot of people don't. And even those who do level up, there's a cap, there's a ceiling to which they will not excel past anymore until they realize the switch is flipped for them one day and they're like, I got to do my own thing. Do you think that that's true for a lot of entrepreneurs, where there's a realization, there's like an aha moment, an epiphany, where they're like, I got to do this thing on my own?
Absolutely. And the switch is an internal switch. It's a real thing. And what everybody, the people that are successful admit that they're successful. That's it. Everybody is successful, but only the successful will admit it. So anything that a person would want to desire to have in their life, it's already possible for them. It's already made for them. The belief, the thought that happens and occurs in their mind is proof that those things are attainable. And so once people start to understand that building a successful future, a big business, having a successful relationship, having a network of influential people, getting to the place where they want to be, whatever they want to achieve in life, even results in their nutritional health and in their medical health, those goals are attainable if they would just believe in themselves. And so one of the things I want to share here is that when I had a business, I always wanted to make, the big thing was I want to make six figures. All right. That was the goal. I want to make six figures. It's possible because up till then in my life, I'd never made six figures in a year. It was a benchmark. It was like I can't do it. Well, once I set my mind to make six figures, I flew past that number and I doubled it in the same year. And then I tripled it before the year end. And so I learned looking back that making six figures was not the hardest thing to do. It was convincing myself that making six figures was possible. And that's where it starts. It starts with the success in your mind. We're in a fight for real estate in this life. And the most important real estate that people have is the 6 inches of space between their ears. They have to determine themselves to be determined. They have to consciously make a decision to decide. And if they don't decide, that's still a decision. And so by inaction, they're taking massive inaction on their own future. You got to take action. It's not just hard work and hope and dreams. You got to have a plan. You got to have a plan for your dreams. And by not pursuing your interests, you're just going to work as one of those 40-hour employees, fulfilling the dreams of somebody else. Here's an interesting story. A guy shows up as the owner of a company and sees one of his workers, and he shows up in a brand new Ferrari. And again, the worker says, "Wow, man, boss, that's an awesome Ferrari." And he said, "Look here, son, you work hard, you keep showing up, you do your job day in and day out, and by this time next year, I'm going to have another Ferrari."
Yeah, I've heard that story.
Go get your own Ferrari.
That's right.
It's possible, but people have to start winning in life by determining that they are, and they have to admit that they're a 24-hour champion no matter what the world tells them. And success is going to come with adversity. That's it. You just have to choose your hard.
Yeah. I love the fact that, again, you've just hit on so many things and there's a lot to unpack there, but it's, are you going to sit there and help to build someone else's dream, right? We only get one of these things called a life, right? And there are so many people who get near the end of their life, they're in the end stages of their life, and the same things keep running through their minds, and they keep saying the same things. And the advice they pass on to younger people like you and I is, I wish I took more risks. I wish I was my own person. Not so much, oh, I wish I worked 10 more hours at the office that week. Yeah. That never comes out of anyone's mouth. No one's ever said, well, I wish I put in more OT. Like no one's ever come to that conclusion on their deathbed. They wish a couple of things: that they spend more time with the people that mattered, right? And they served them more, they served their families more, they served their communities more, that they spent more time being a human and more time with themselves. And that's something that you'll never get back. Working a job is trading time for money. Mm-hmm. And this is something else I'd like to ask you about, because I think you have a lot of great insight on this. Do you believe, because some people get caught between the two and I don't think they can kind of make sense of it. Some people tell me that, you got to do what makes you happy. You got to do what makes you happy. You got to build a life for yourself that makes you happy. And I'm for that. I'm not against happiness. I'm not driving a stake through happiness. Of course, I want you to be happy and fulfilled. But then I've also heard from, different thought leaders that it's more important to build a life of meaning and having meaning in your life and being fulfilled that way. Knowing that I'm in a position now where the way my life is meaningful is I get to serve other entrepreneurs. my branding and my design work, I get to serve other entrepreneurs who are building something for themselves, like building up their own empires, and I'm helping them launch. Like it's a good feeling that I can help them launch. So I guess I'm happy with the work that I do, but I also know that the work is meaningful. So I'm wondering, can you, in your opinion, can you subscribe to both of those things at the same time? Are they kind of flying in the face of each other, or is one more important than the other? What do you think?
Well, meaningfulness and happiness go hand in hand, Nick. You see, when people design a life that they want to live, they can't imagine doing anything else. And
Right.
so there's a difference between just being part of something. Like when you go to a work or go to a job and you're part of, I don't know, don't want to pick on big tel, but like AT&T or Verizon, they're
Okay.
a part of, it's the question that people don't ask themselves. And when I ask this question of people, they get thrown off. I say, well, tell me who you are without telling me what you do. And so
Mm,
when you ask people, hey, what, who are you? Who is Nick, right? Who is John? Who is Sally? Who is Bob? Like, who are you? They go in immediately and they start telling you what they do, all right? And it's because they've never reflected on who they are as a person, right? Get 10 adjectives to describe yourself and start listing those out as someone that you can describe as yourself, as characteristics of to tell people who you are without telling them you're a fireman, you're a doctor, you're a nurse, you work at AT&T, you work at whatever restaurant or whatever. Who are you? And so this goes back to a fundamental question of identity. People struggle with four things in life: identity, they struggle with who they are, right? And that's just basically it. Come up with those adjectives and you can overcome that question in life. And then another thing they can come up with is where they come from, their origin. People don't know where they come from. They're fearfully and wonderfully made if they believe in themselves. And then they struggle with their purpose, right? Which aligns to our question of meaningfulness and happiness. Why is it that they do? Why are they here? What are they doing in life? What is the main purpose of their existence? It's a deep thought kind of angle to consider your life, but most people are not successful in life because they just don't think. And if they were to determine their identity, their origin, their purpose, they could achieve their last thing is their destiny. And so when you
mm.
talk about happiness, this is because people that love to do. You ever heard? Well, if you do what you love, you never have to work in your day in your
Yeah,
life.
yeah, of
Of
course.
course. Why do people do that? Because it brings them happiness and fulfillment, and therefore meaning in their life, which goes right into their purpose. Why are they here? Well, I'm here because they do blah blah blah, and it's not something that they learn or that it's just something that's in them, and then they just promote it as something that they love, and that brings happiness and fulfillment. And therefore, it will bring success. It will bring all the necessary contacts. It will bring floods of money. It will, all that stuff is, people chase all that stuff. They chase career promotions. They chase success. They chase money. They chase influence, and it always eludes them. The way to do it is to attract all those things. But in order to do that, you have to become an attractive person. And that's by being authentic and fulfilling your purpose in life.
I love the of those first four. I love the fact that you hit on identity. I think that's so clever and that's so key. Why do you think? Because you're totally right. Like when you ask people, when you meet someone for the first time, if you're walking into a room, you don't know anybody. Hey, my
Yeah.
name is Nick. Uh, Tell me all about yourself. Tell me who you are. The first thing they're going to do is, well, this is what I do. Like they tell me about their job, their career, and all that stuff. No, 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 no. Tell me who you are. Like, what are you all about? Like, I don't want to know what you. That's more what you do. Why do you think identity is so rooted to their job, like their purpose in life? Like I get that you need to have purpose, but why do you think someone's job, is this just the way it is just this the society we live in? Like we're told growing up from an early age, get a job, get a job, get a job, go to school, get a job, this will be what you do for the rest of you, and this will create who you are, this will determine the path that you walk for the rest of your life, and this is just how your identity will form. Why are we so rooted our identity to our job? Why do you is it just how it's always been?
Well, it's probably a culmination of different factors that lead into this societal acceptance of that
Yeah,
is all that we're defined of is what they do for a living.
yeah.
Part of it is people don't invest the time in themselves to understand. that there's another side of them. All right. If I say, well, who are you? And they say, well, this is what I do. Well, okay, well, that's from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. All right.
Yeah.
But what about after 5 p.m.? What is it who are you after that when you're not at work? When you punch out of the time clock, who are you? Do you mean to tell me that you don't have any reserves in your character? other than
they stop being
being
themselves. They punch out, they become an automaton, and they just go home. There's no personality. They're terminated at home.
Does that mean their character and identity suddenly shuts off and they're not able to exist outside of their job? I mean, if you turn that on them, people are like, oh, no, of course not. That's not what I meant. And then they start to think about it, well, I love to paint, I love to surf, I love to travel, whatever they do, and then, so, find one thing that you're good at and do that. Do that. And most people will tell you, if you ask them what they do and they tell you what they do, well, how happy are you doing that? And so I learned a long time ago that the question is not to ask, how much am I getting from a job, like per hour or per month or yearly salary? Don't ask that. Ask yourself, what am I becoming by working here? What is happening to me by spending this time at this organization? What am I being allowed to become? And when you think about that, there's a cap that employers will put on you because they want you to go so far, but they don't want you to go any further, because now there's people above that pyramid on the organization that are going to say, well, now you're stepping on my toes, And every organization is a pyramid organization because there's a president, there's a vice president, a CEO, then you have mid-level managers, then you have all the employees. And so by definition, you're somewhere in that strata, somewhere in that hierarchy, And so when you start to strive above to the next level, there's going to be some toes that are, that's why you're going to be competing. And nobody likes to help somebody that's in competition with everybody else. But if you're in competition with yourself, everybody will help you. If you're just trying to be better than you were yesterday, everybody will help you do that because they believe in that spirit that you have. Everybody has it, and they love to see it and support it in other people.
Just be 1% better than you were yesterday, and you're making huge progress. That's the same thing I tell my colleagues, other entrepreneurs I hang out with, and even my clients. Guys, if we're just 1% better, if we just 1% improved upon yesterday, if we did that every day, oh man, we'd be like 365% better by the end of the year. Wouldn't you take such an increase? Wouldn't you take from January to December? If I could give you that throughout the year, wouldn't you love that? I love that, man. I love that. That's a great message. And I can hear, like, it's so great to know that you're like a professional speaker and that this tone of voice and like these ideas and thought patterns, I have no doubt, come out in the work that you do. So that's like a great message and great to hear. This is something, Rex, that I ask every entrepreneur that I speak to, especially on this podcast. As you build your brand, because I'm big into branding and I'm big into building up, your business. As you grow and as you build yourself up, what can I look forward to as a fan of your brand, as a fan of Rex? Like, what can I look forward to? What's the next thing you're doing? What's the big idea you're chasing? Like, what's next for you?
Well, I'd like to still build up my authorships. I want to put out some more material. This is crazy. We're living in an unprecedented time, and I kind of hate that word because the news uses it like all the time. Yeah, but it really truly is an incredible time in human history because of the COVID pandemic. People are finding skills that they never knew that they had. People are learning things about themselves, and we're learning things about other people that we've never learned before. But there's a part of us a lot of us are defining how flexible we are. We're changing and adapting to, everybody's adapting. So one of the things I did as a priority was to take some of my content and start building content. And I've created a course design and delivery platform on Teachable, Real Life University, REEL, because I come from a fishing background, so it's kind of a pun on that. But Real Life University teaches us, these are the lessons that we never learned in school. You know, that all the formal education, you can be book smart to death and not get anywhere in life because you go to the streets and they throw the books out and they throw it in your face. That's no way to learn. Really, the way to learn is to fail. And you mentioned that I've done a few things in my life, and I have. I've been on some crazy adventures and done some things in my life. But the thing I do is I go all the way up in a project and I find where the failure point is, and that's where the growth is. But most people will find that point and then they'll quit, they'll give up. But your success point is after that, overcoming those obstacles, because it's how you flex, how you change, how you grow that pushes you past those adversities. And then pretty soon life is going to say, whoa, give this guy what he wants. He's not going to give up. Let's go find somebody else to pick on because they're going to give up easily, you know? So what I'm going to do is just deliver more content in the areas of motivation and inspiration, because for me, that's fulfilling my purpose, is to encourage other people to find and fulfill their passions, because and I believe we all have a mission, and we only have a certain length of time to accomplish that mission. Mm-hmm. And those people that just get up and go to work for 40 years, working 40 hours a week to retire on a 40% salary, for the rest of their life as a pension, that's an industrial age philosophy that died a long time ago. That does not exist anymore. So the entrepreneurial mindset, it should be on the forefront of everybody's mind to be able to make it in the pandemic and during these crazy times, unprecedented times. It's fun when I use that word on purpose. But you know, really, you can look forward to more content and more courses available on my website, rexwitkamp.com. And I just promote a feeling and a value of just motivation and inspiring people by, if I can do this, anybody can do this. If people would just believe in themselves based on my story, they can find anything's possible. And that's what you can expect from me.
Awesome, man. I'm super looking forward to that. You already dropped the website, but I'm going to ask you, if people want to connect with you, where can they find you? Where does Rex Witkamp hang out? Where can we find you, man?
Yeah. Instagram's a good place. It's capt.rexwitkamp on Instagram, and just shoot me a DM through there. I usually check that. And then anywhere throughout my website, I have numerous little tentacles out there just gathering information. So I'd love to hear and follow and subscribe to, you know, those people that are finding me online and sending me and shooting messages. So I'd love to know how I can help and serve your audience as well, Nick. So thanks for having me.
Thanks so much, Captain Rex. Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely, brother. Anytime.
Thank you.